But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
She wasn't simply swapped out. She wasn't simply led away in accordance with. To a startling disclosure from the Evita, Rachel Zegler's rebirth was purportedly a nightmare to deal with, according to the director of the show, and we're not discussing online drama or fan rumors. We are discussing real private notes, actual messages from the internal memos, those who worked alongside her on a daily basis, every day, and those messages are vicious.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
According to reports, one entry says, ignoring all instructions weakens the team. Rehearsal is frequently interrupted by leadership. Stream. Another, she thinks this. The focus of the production is her. Doesn't. The release was unexpected. Anonymously, then confirmed by several insiders in a matter of hours. And just like that, which was already a disorganized, a public scandal evolved into something much more darker, a collapse taking place behind the drape in the center of one of the West End's most anticipated shows. History, the idea was not to do this.
And if you've ever seen Evita, it is a challenging part to play, and I don't think she has the temerity, the stamina, you pick a word here, in order to pull it off going, every single day that the theater is open.
When Rachel was chosen to play Eva Perón, intended to be the moment of her return, her opportunity to modify and suppress the criticism, her reputation, and demonstrate her ability to carry a legacy role devoid of controversy. Things nearly fell apart. Backstage rehearsal walkouts right away. Tension, followed by the viral collapse where she was purportedly led away by security before the whole cast at. Fans were left with questions at the moment. Did she actually resign because it was that bad? Now that she pushed out, such inquiries are being addressed, and the responses are vicious.
Studios really need to go back to what they originally did, which was tell your stars to shut up and not say things, because no one is paying to hear your star say offensive things off the screen.
Since these notes weren't intended to, they were shared with the public. Among the production team in private, silent murmurs intended to remain closed doors, but they were leaked by someone. Someone wanted everyone to be aware of what actually occurred behind the scenes, and now that Rachel Zegler is revealing the truth, is being painted, not just trendy, as the antagonist in her own story of redemption. However, how did this happen, and what was stated in the director's notes? It was awful, even for the makers. Allegedly contemplated canceling the program completely. Let's go back in time and observe how a dream role became a catastrophe.
Exclusive! Branding experts warn that Rachel Zegler Backlash could ruin Disney's big-budget Snow White remake and predict executives will be having crisis talks in order to win back fans ahead of the 2024 release. Rachel Zegler has been running amok and talking all about this new role that she will be playing as Snow White and how it has been reimagined.
It's no longer 1937.
And people are pissed, right? Because she's playing this iconic role and she's talking about how the movie is dated.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago. It's extremely dated.
It needs to be redone. Snow White is not going to be
saved by the prince.
And she's in fact going to be a girl boss feminist who don't need no man.
She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I don't think Disney anticipated that it really has a deep and strong emotional place in their childhoods and throughout their lives. And maybe that film from 1937 did not need to be reimagined.
It all began with a promise and a spotlight when the inaugural Evita West End revival was declared and Rachel Zegler was made public. The excitement surrounding the new Eva Perón it wasn't just casting that was deafening, was a bold modern decision that made a statement. Young Latina celebrity that recently left a high-profile parts in Disney Snow and West Side Story. White entering among the most notable figures in musical theater history. It was daring, according to the headlines. It was deemed divisive by fans, but the industry was keeping a careful eye on.
And then, because, I mean, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals. You're doing Evita in London, right?
Big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Was that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
That'll be fun, huh?
It's going to be the best time. It's my West End debut. I'm so excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, I did Shakespeare for 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 weeks of Shakespeare.
It's a lot.
Did they say, like, the audiences in England are different than the American audience?
I've heard they're more reserved, and I certainly didn't have a very reserved experience on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in an 800-seat theater in the round, so you really are this close to your audience at times, and I'm with the biggest heartthrob.
4. According to Rachel, this was meant to be the pivotal moment following a series of public blunders made during uncomfortable press appearances to controversially adopt traditional responsibilities. Evita was her opportunity to start over. No TikTok, no blue screen fairy tales. Drama with only a script and a spotlight for her that had already endured over time. But the cracks started almost immediately to demonstrate.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great. I think that's really important that you see me as a human being, because I think a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I want that disclaimer out.
Reports began to seep out. Rachel was reportedly showing up late for rehearsals, conflicting with the choreographer. Initially, with the vocal coach, it sounded like standard celebrity tension, nothing unusual for a production of this scale. But then came the reports of Real heated disputes, doors slamming, early departure of backstage cast members, murmured grievances against an antagonistic working conditions. Next came the meltdown.
So I decided to walk to the studio because it's really pretty out. It's only like a 15-minute walk. I haven't been out to walk in a warm place in a really long time. So it kind of feels just like wrong, and I feel like I'm forgetting everything that
It transpired during what was intended to be a closed-door rehearsal, one source said. Rachel declined to do a freshly choreographed scene. Another reported she shouted at the director in front of the full cast. The practice was halted. Security was called, and Rachel, the face of the production, was escorted off the stage. Not long after that, the viral clip emerged, a brief, blurry video from within the theater displaying an entirely a different woman is in the middle of the stage, singing Don't Cry's famous lyrics. Argentina's face was mostly veiled, but that didn't matter to the internet. When the rumors began to circulate, Rachel had been silently, without a word, replaced from the team behind the production. Fans flocked to Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok. Speculations about the new actress. Why didn't anyone ask whether Rachel was fired? Uttering a word, and then Rachel remained silent and made no statement. The producer's explanation. Social media accounts for the show were shut down, posting everything up to this point since these purportedly leaked notes, which were written by. This is confirmed by the Evita director himself. Fans could only speculate until Rachel didn't abandon her at this time. She was expelled on her own terms, and the true story behind that choice is more explosive than anyone had thought.
I'm like so ready to just throw my phone away. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna happen. If you have any opinions, I don't want to hear.
The source of the leak was not It wasn't from a tabloid fan. Purportedly originated from within the production, and within it was sufficient to turn the internet into a complete hysteria. A snapshot is only one. Initially made an anonymous post on a locked industry Reddit repost after industry Discord, and acquired by a few specialty theaters. Blogs. The picture depicted what appeared to a page of labeled and dated type notes. Rehearsal director overview for week 3. And Zegler, the first bullet point, continues to be confrontational in all creative. Conversations don't seem to be going in the right way. Requests changes in the middle of rehearsal without previous authorization, but it didn't end there. The following lines purportedly described her as publicly separated from the ensemble. Co-stars criticism during blocking and in disagreement with the choreographer, and one terrifying sentence for the vocal director. Read, she has a captivating presence on stage. Her presence backstage is harmful. And then the quotation from the headline that sent the viral tweet stating, "We're creating a musical, not a realm, but Rachel believes she's nobility." The tweet rocketed dozens of users, including those who identify as theater employees and crew members. Reported the leak was authentic. One user commented, "I've seen these reports before they're circulated for the production assessment internally." Another claimed that the wording was the same. Weekly messages exchanged in other Western final scenes give the language and formatting, followed by a second. This time, a screenshot appeared from what seems to be a conversation on WhatsApp between production leads. Messages were ambiguous. However, eliminating producer A isn't sustainable should she fail to adapt. We proceed without her. Producer B. The understudy is already being prepared by the director. Although these communications haven't been received, she has been formally verified multiple times. Insiders in entertainment, such as a renowned Broadway blogger, stated that the context and language are in line with meetings for crises during rehearsals. That uncontrollably spiraling fans started breaking everything down right away. People enlarged the screenshots, looked at timestamps and compared fonts, even looked at the grammar, stating that the wording was consistent with communications from former directors of the West End. And here's where things become much more hazy. According to the notes from one unnamed cast member, were never intended to be shared more than a few senior employees. They were internal assessments that serve as a briefing, producers, and oversee the creative changes to avoid launching a public storm. Yet somewhere someone had sufficient, so they chose to divulge them. Nevertheless, why some claim it was a scream for help, a way to illustrate that the production was in chaos and needed intervention. Some people think it was revenge. The purported actions of Rachel had sparked sufficient bridges for someone to wish to ensure that she was unable to spin the narrative, whatever the reason. One thing, undoubtedly, the notes present a damning image of more than just a challenging lead actress, but of a production unraveling. Internally, they portray a celebrity who couldn't control a losing team, authority, and a turning point that arrived not from a single instance, but rather from a gradual increase in conflict, disobedience, and ego. And just when admirers believed it was emanating from a single source, the more voices began in the director's chair participating, since, as it turns out, he wasn't taking notes alone. If the notes from the leak director were the first, what followed the dam's crack was the flood a few hours after the document was made public. Other purported insiders started talking, not in public, but rather through anonymous posts, restricted forums, and private messaging, where rumors about the sector tend to circulate prior to it becoming popular. And what they showed and validated the contents of the notes suggested that this wasn't only a resentful director, it was a whole crew subtly disintegrating under stress. One purported assistant choreographer, in a since-deleted discussion, she wrote, contested each sequence and failed to hit marks, referred to the staging as dull, and stated she would prefer to improvise it on the spot. Rachel was previously reported by another crew member stopped the middle of a full rehearsal to reportedly quarrel over outfit selections, stating, I appear to be a teacher at school, not. The revolution wasn't limited to a clothing assistant for the creative team purportedly stated that Rachel requested continuous refittings that rejected some materials and returned a dozen outfits. Changes in just 1 week with one outfit was turned down because, quote, not appearing sufficiently strong. According to, following these modifications, the costume throw-off and ensemble fits coordination for almost 2 weeks, even further discrediting a cast member who stated, to participate in the supporting group, Zegler started handing out notes to other performers. Although she wasn't the director, she pretended that she would stop people after scenarios and instruct them to alter their delivering directly before the director. It became so awkward that some, according to reports, the ensemble performers asked to be switched to background blocking solely to don't give her direct stage time. And don't forget that notorious security incident, according to one anonymous message. It was more than just a furious argument, was the outcome of a complete collapse. Following Rachel's apparent shout at the director in the presence of the whole cast, was a dispute rather than a discussion. People were crying, yelling, and security wasn't a formality while leaving. With every new leak, it was essential. The narrative ceased to be a mystery and began to resemble a full-blown catastrophe. These weren't isolated incidents. Complaints allegedly, there were patterns.